Unfortunately, the level of our relations is close to zero and is about to cross the zero meridian and go negative.
An invasion could begin at any time. That includes during the Olympics.
Yes, even before the closing ceremonies in Beijing, U.S. intel gives defense officials reason to believe Russia will invade Ukraine. The White House issuing an urgent warning for American citizens to leave Ukraine now. Jen Sullivan has the latest.
The risk is now high enough and the threat is immediate enough that prudence demands that it is the time to leave now.
The United States and several other countries are sending an urgent message to their citizens that they need to flee Ukraine now.
Any American in Ukraine should leave as soon as possible, and in any event in the next 24 to 48 hours.
We're in a window when an invasion could begin at any time.
The State Department warning a Russian invasion of Ukraine may happen before the end of the Winter Olympic Games.
If a Russian attack on Ukraine proceeds, it is likely to begin with aerial bombing and missile attacks that could obviously kill civilians without regard to their nationality. A subsequent ground invasion would involve the onslaught of a massive force. The president will not be putting the lives of our men and women in uniform at risk by sending them into a war zone to rescue people who could have left now but chose not to.
The United States is now deploying 3,000 more troops to Poland as tensions rise.
We are not saying that a decision has been taken, a final decision has been taken by President Putin. What we are saying is that we have a sufficient level of concern based on what we are seeing on the ground and what our intelligence analysts have picked up.
U.S. President Biden will now speak with Russian President Vladimir Putin over the phone Saturday to try and de-escalate the simmering situation diplomatically. I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
The president tweeting today that he did meet with transatlantic leaders today, saying they're united in our diplomatic efforts and deterrence measures and are ready to impose massive economic costs if Russia chooses further aggression. Now, that threat of invasion pushed WTI crude oil prices up to about $94 per barrel today, marking a 7-year high. North Dakota Petroleum Council President Ron Ness says the unrest, compounded by international reliance for oil production and low supply, will make markets volatile.
When America was the dominant energy producer over the last several years, the markets weren't really too concerned with what was going on with OPEC or some of these other nations. But we put ourselves back in this situation where now we're reliant.
WTI futures have increased about 27% in just the past month and a half. Let's turn it over to Henry now for a look at our Super Bowl weekend weather.
It looks like we're going to have some improving weather temperature-wise as we go into your weekend. Temperatures closer to normal for tomorrow, but will be above freezing by Sunday. Great pictures of the sundogs this morning. We got reports of those across western North Dakota and Montana this morning. Here's one taken down in Lincoln, North Dakota by Tricia Bentz. Thank you, Tricia, for sharing your pictures at skyspyphotos.com. Wind chill advisories in effect for the Turtle Mountains, Devil's Lake Basin into the Red River Valley, as they could have 35-degree or below zero wind chills. We will not be meeting wind chill advisory criteria in Williston, but we will have sub-zero temperatures as well as wind chills. But thankfully, the Arctic air isn't going to be sticking around that much longer. You'll notice for tomorrow, we're back closer to normal, around 24 degrees under a partly sunny sky. The wind, however, will be on the increase for Sunday, but temperatures will be closer to 40 for your Sunday afternoon. I'll have the rest of your forecast in a couple minutes.
Thank you, Henry. Well, Monday is the deadline for healthcare workers at facilities that receive Medicare and Medicaid funding to either be vaccinated against COVID or have a pending or approved exemption. Now, Montana is one of several states fighting that mandate. Attorney General Austin Knutson's office told us today that there is a chance of filing a request a preliminary injunction by or on Monday, but it must first be remanded from the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. We'll have an update on this first thing next week. Now, they're not the only ones fighting COVID-19 mandates and restrictions.
I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm actually triple vaccinated, but I am here to support the freedom of people's choices.
That's okay. What's not okay is deciding to choke off the busiest commercial border crossing between our two nations that carries a full $400 million of goods back and forth between the United States and Canada each and every day.
Well, first Ottawa, now Ontario. The trucker protests are prompting Canadian cities and provinces to declare a state of emergency. Now, the truckers are blocking ports of entry, trying to force the Canadian government to ease vaccine mandates and COVID restrictions, disrupting the supply chain. Now, they could disrupt the Super Bowl. Daryl Forges reports.
A state of emergency declared in Ottawa as Canadian leaders seek more authority to remove the Freedom Convoy protesters blocking 3 major crossings between Canada and the United States.
This is an illegal blockade. And while people have the right to protest, they don't have a right to illegally block the largest land border crossing in North America.
Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer says the blockades are causing economic strains and hindering the already struggling supply chain.
This is 5 days and it's already taking a toll of tens of millions of dollars.
Protesters want all Canadian coronavirus restrictions and mandates lifted at the national level.
You would risk your life rather than leave this protest at the moment?
100%. Absolutely 100%.
I'm fighting like our veterans did for the freedom of this country, which Trudeau's taking away from us.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is not budging.
Everything is on the table because this unlawful activity has to end.
Now, the Department of Homeland Security is warning similar protests could disrupt cities in the U.S., including around Sunday's Super Bowl.
You could see there'd be a disruption. People might miss the kickoff. They might miss Snoop Dogg at halftime, but I think the game could definitely go on.
I'm Daryl Forges reporting.
In Washington, lawmakers have found it tough to find common ground, but one issue may be just the unifier they need. Leaders in both chambers from both sides of the aisle announced that they're open to the idea of limiting members' abilities to trade stocks. North Dakota lawmakers say they would consider bipartisan proposals.
I don't know that I'm supporting it yet. I am open to it, though. And here's the reason. I can sit here and tell you with great certainty that transparency is more than adequate, and yet 76% of the American public believes that members of Congress have an unfair advantage.
On North Dakota's state capitol grounds, there's a visual reminder that while it may be a low-crime state, it is by no means crime-free. Erica Craven has the story.
The sign behind me at the North Dakota Heritage Center and State Museum on the Capitol grounds remains blank after repeated instances of vandalism. Last September, the sign was unreadable. At the time, residents said the vandalism was noticeable to out-of-state visitors.
Because when they drove in yesterday, they came down, and as you're coming down the highway, it sticks out like a sore thumb.
The letters were taken in 3 incidents in 2021. Some letters were found in trees, others weren't recovered. No one was caught, but security was increased. Now new letters are in the works using $16,530 from the Capitol Building Fund. Capitol Grounds Management did not respond to multiple requests for comment. Residents say the area deserves to be highlighted properly.
Because you got the flags out there. The flags were way out because of the wind, and it was a beautiful picture except the sign.
Damaging, destroying, or defacing property can result in criminal charges. Within the next month, new letters are set to be installed, and some residents say it will give visitors a good impression of the area. In Bismarck, Erica Craven reporting for your News Leader.
Williston Economic Development awarded grants to 20 organizations and programs this week as part of its Community Enhancement Program. That program allocates $50,000 grant dollars a year to nonprofit groups and projects. Leaders say they received 24 applications seeking more than $180,000 for everything from entrepreneurial programs to affordable transportation for seniors. Some of the grants are going to organizations outside of Williston proper as well. Now, nonprofits throughout the city say they received a record $200,000 in Giving Hearts Day donations yesterday, which they consider a huge success.
We were pretty impressed and we're very blessed. We feel very blessed to have that kind of response from our community.
You know how we say that Midwest nice, North Dakota nice, Minnesota nice, and you truly see that with the generosity of people.
Officials estimate about $26 million were donated in North Dakota and Minnesota. Well, it's Career and Technical Education Month, and a new academy is opening in North Dakota. Keep it here.
You're watching the Night Report at 10, live on KUMV-TV, your news leader.